Good morning, everyone, and happy Saturday. I hope everyone's having a super awesome day. I actually wanted to make today's video a little short, but a little just like needed to get it out there because I've been seeing a few posts like on all the like Verbank pages and like the other Pokemon pages that I've been following, and basically I've gotten the sense that there is a bit of like the feeling of like the fear of missing out, especially with like all these new sets that have been released, like Crown Zenith, and then you have some of the what is it, the Sword and Shield era that's like phasing out, um as well as like seeing a lot of vintage type of Pokemon cards. Well, medium vintage, more like Phantom Forces, a lot of XY, some Sun and Moon, and how people are starting to unload those types of boxes, which leads me to think two things right now. One, there's going to be an influx of money coming soon, and I think we all know this due to the fact that it's going to be like tax season, and so people are going to be getting those refunds. And if you've already started the process, like me, I tend to do my taxes pretty soon, and usually knock them off for myself and my family as well. But you basically get the gist of, because you potentially pay a certain level of your income that's higher than what you actually owe, because some people don't know how to measure, and I'm one of those people. Unlike my manager, who I swear he's like, oh yeah, I get like a zero refund. I'm like, oh, isn't that a bad thing? And he's like, well, kind of, but also not really, because you get to spend the money that you like would have in the future right now. And something to consider in that is the fact that, inflation could be anything tomorrow, but it's whatever the static amount is for today, and it will only be that today. Um, but the point is that with all this going on, you see people who are trying to get their refunds, and that means that they're most likely going to be getting them like late February, March, whenever it is that they usually release them. But it usually takes about like 2 to 3 weeks to review your tax return, and then you get a refund. If you're doing like a basic return, it's usually like that sort of timeline straight across. But basically, in looking at all that stuff, I was realizing that a lot of people in the position where it's like, oh, I want to buy cards, I want to be able to be involved in the entire, like, I want to get cards now, basically, are going to stores, and they're realizing that there's actually not that much stock out there for you to be buying. And so people are left with like the decision of like, what do I do at this point? Like, should I be buying stuff at like maybe slightly pumped up prices online, or should I be saving for the next set? Is there going to be enough of the next set? Are we going to be getting reprints? Should I, like, all of these like different things. And you see a lot of YouTubers on this platform, and then you see some on other platforms as well, and the sellers on Whatnot and all this stuff, and they basically get to raise those prices due to the fact that people don't know. And granted, I don't know either. Like, are we gonna get reprints? Are we not gonna get reprints? I can't say one way or another. Like, I have ties to a smaller distributor, with which like I'm a part of a program where I basically get to buy stuff for, say like a 5%, a 3 to 5% markup on whatever an actual distributor would be selling stuff for. And so, given this information, by the way, I'm still getting booster boxes at like about like, I think the latest set that released was like $96, and we haven't even seen the full like effect of that. Especially with Pokemon saying like, oh, we're gonna be MSRP in our boxes from now on for 164 and change. Well, that's cool and all, but what does that mean? Because that means that other people who are potentially like, people who buy stuff at like the wholesale value might no longer be getting them for their used to be like $87, and instead are going to be getting them for 96, which then would make my margin like 100. But then, for other people, like in the future as well, like maybe that's also what's leading to this whole like, it's FOMO, like, that like I need to be able to get this now, because if I don't get it today, the prices are going to go up tomorrow, and this or that, and it might be hard to get because there haven't been any reprints. Like, right now, the most released item that I've seen, at least in the wild, because I went to do my rounds, figure out what's in town. The Soaring Grants Pass still has a lot of stock, they almost always do, and so, but in the local area outside of that, like Target tends to be run out, Walmart's in the area tend to be run out here. Barnes & Noble had a very low stock. Actually, last time I went, I think there was like a Vivid Voltage Elite Trainer box, another type of Elite Trainer box, the Dragonite box, and then a few of the individual checklane blisters. But outside of that, like, I get it. If you wanted to, like, build some positions, or you wanted to make sure that you got something, like, in enough quantity that it would be worthwhile to keep long term, that's kind of like slipping through the window. But something to remember at the end of the day is that even though this is happening, it might not necessarily mean that we're going to be like missing out in the future. What I really see happening, and this isn't a promise for anyone, but what I really see happening is Pokemon trying to catch up on different platforms, if you will. So they might not be selling at the whole store level as much, like maybe they're not replenishing things as much right now as you might expect them to normally, but they are releasing stock at a steady amount if you pay attention to the Pokemon Center, which sometimes sets limits, but on other items like regular Elite Trainer boxes, check lane blisters, or other blisters as a whole, there's usually not a limit, and then you can usually buy however many sets you want, and then you get the free shipping, and then, you know, you're good to go. I think the only thing that ends up bothering people is that not a lot of people think of this venue, and then so you have a lot of missed opportunities for people who might just not know. But it is helpful, and that way, you know, you're not taking from someone else's stock that might potentially need it, like the local town children, if you will, who want to go to Walmart and or Target with their parents, and they end up not finding anything, and so you take away from that bad experience and you end up getting your stuff as well. And then you also, if you pay attention to that sort of thing, like additionally, you get the sense of like, oh, well, they're replenishing these tins. Okay, what comes in these tins usually? And granted, like sometimes they do switch it up. Like, I know like the Kanto tins that I opened in one of the other videos for the mailing and stuff, they ended up re-releasing like another set the spring after, which I actually have, not visible. But they're on the display, and basically I bought a set of the evolutions with the Sword and Shield, but I also bought a set with Fates Collide and Sun and Moon. I want to say it was those two, or maybe it was another type of pack. But the point is, maybe it's Burning Shadows. The point still remains that, you know, they're able to switch these products around, and so it's almost never a promise sometimes, where it's like, oh, well, I saw this tin, and this tin had 2 Evolving Skies, 1 Brilliant Stars, and 1 Fusion Strike. Well, cool. It might have had that, say, in 2021, 2022, when it was released, but now it's 2023, and maybe those packs aren't easily available anymore, and so they have to dip into the new stock, which means, like, what's in excess? Darkness Ablaze? Is it gonna be not Brilliant Stars, but like Battle Styles, or any of the lower selling sets that you might just have an excess amount of packs, and so you have to move them some way, which most of these ways are like in 4-pack boxes, or you have these tins that are re-released, basically just so they could keep moving some product. But the Promised Land product, like booster boxes, Elite Trainer boxes, I get it, the fear is there. And what I actually see happening is that they will be most likely reprinted. Are they going to be reprinted in massive amounts? Most likely not, because I think Pokemon actually ended up learning a lot from like their follies with Fates Collide and that Crimson Invasion era where they overprinted all of these packs, and they also did the same thing during Burning Skies Primal Clash. And so you don't want to have these mistakes happen over and over and over again, because it makes consumers that are here to invest, or consumers that are here to collect, the sort of like loss of confidence in the company, because they're making decisions that don't really care for the consumer or for the potentiality of growth and value of their products over time, but rather just to meet a specific type of demand that will over time diminish, and then, you know, lead to, if all sets are overprinted, what is the value of a hyper rare Pikachu? If sets are overprinted to, you know, that point of oblivion where it's like, I can find this anywhere. Honestly, it doesn't matter if I get, like, at the time back when, it doesn't matter if I get this thing of evolutions, like they treated the Jirachi GX boxes. People are saying like, oh, it's a garbage box, it doesn't matter that it's $20, it has garbage packs in it. What does it have? Ultra Prism, Guardians Rising, Fates Collide, Evolutions. Those sets, you know, they're garbage. They're not great sets. And then now you're coming back to the, like, she comes bound rotten. And then you get here to this point where it's like, they're actually really good sets. And yeah, like Fates Collide, Breakpoint, totally overprinted. And you see that reflected in the second market value of those packs, where they haven't really grown much. It's actually been like, what, 5 years? And they've barely doubled in value. Sure, if you're looking at, like, if I was investing in a stock, doubling in value in 5 years, that might actually be good, because you're hoping for that 7% return, which is why it's not a failure, but it is not impressive when you're looking at Pokemon sets historically. Because historically, even if we don't look at something impressive like generations, if we just look at, for instance, I don't want to look as back as Black and White or XY. So if we look at Sun and Moon, and we look at, like, what is it? There was Ultra Prism. Ultra Prism was also short printed, but Ultra Prism is still like a $12, almost $14 pack. Sells every day of the week. You can see the TCG player, like, actual charts, and you know, it continues to sell. It continues to be a solid product that people want to buy and that people want to continue experiencing, because it had really amazing cards. It also wasn't overprinted to oblivion, which means that you can find it. Well, actually, you were able to find it multiple times in secondary products, in reprinted products like those triple pack little boosters. You had the original sort of releases like Elite Trainer boxes and booster boxes, which I think were short printed though, and there was only like 1, 2, maybe 3 waves. Like the third one was very minimal. And Elite Trainer boxes, which I think last time they reprinted them was in 2021, despite the fact that the set was at least, what, 3 years old at that point, 2 years old? But they kept doing that to other sets as well. Like, it's the reason why people were like, oh, Champion's Path is going to continue to be reprinted. And yeah, Champion's Path was printed to a certain level, but they really only released 4-pack boxes. They really only overprinted in, like, yeah, I think it was really just the 4-pack Dub Wool and Hatterene boxes, because everything else was printed to a certain amount and it wasn't released that much ever again. Like, you got the Elite Trainer boxes, and I think there were up to 3 waves as well of that. There was those pin boxes, but we only ever got 1 or 2 waves of those. There was the Marnie Premium Collection, which, again, we only got like 1 or 2. But everything is limited. So while you're continuously receiving product, you're getting different types of product. And so that's what makes me excited. That's what makes me not lose hope, because we might not be getting, say, I don't want to say this fully, but like, what if we don't get Evolving Skies booster boxes, but they continue to make those Elite Trainer boxes? After all, at Walmart, we saw sort of like a restocking of what I'm assuming, general assumption here, not based on fact, that I know of yet, but what I'm assuming was just backstock that distributors had, just holding somewhere in the back. And then at some point, you know, it's like, oh, we need to make space for this new set that's going to be coming out at some point. You know, you got to move this stuff. And so they did, and they emptied it into stores. And now we had Evolving Skies Elite Trainer boxes. Well, cool beans. And that's great, because now the general consumer has another way to get Evolving Skies, which doesn't take away from anyone else. But it's that sort of mentality of, it's gonna keep coming, and yeah, it might not be as much as you want. Like, we're not gonna print out an oblivion amount of Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, or at least I hope they don't, because that would be a terrible way to start the set. It would be like, oh, you know, you switched things up, and now we have the gray bordered packs, and you're printing it as much as you did Roaring Skies and Primal Clash. What is this? Like, you bring a special, unique thing to a set, this huge change that's about to happen, and then what, it's overprinted to oblivion? That's not fair to anyone. It makes everyone's confidence in the company and in the product become diminished, because it's like, okay, there's just a lot of it. What was the point of me being excited? What was the point of me thinking it was special if it's just gonna be overdone, you know? Anyway, that's just a quick thought I had for the weekend. I hope everyone's having an awesome possum day, and I guess, I don't know, be safe, have fun, kick butt with school if you're doing that. I look tired. I'm actually working on pre-midterm stuff right now, so I have like the competitive analysis, which I'll be reporting on next week, because I still need to figure out the final bits to that paper, and then we'll be able to explore that in an actual like one-to-one sort of way. But have a great day, be safe, and have a great weekend, guys. Bye.